Our next guest is going to be one of our speakers at Private Exchange Forum Baltimore, and I want to welcome to the program Ryan Thomson, who is Director of Private Exchange for Group and Voluntary Auto and Home at Liberty Mutual. Ryan, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are we doing today?
We're doing great. Great to have you in the program, Ryan.
Likewise, long-time listener and very excited to join you guys this morning, so thanks again.
Yeah, great to have you here. Most people know Liberty Mutual, but give our audience a little bit of an overview at your position in this space and talk about, the opportunities that, let's begin to talk about the opportunities that Liberty sees with private exchanges.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously most folks on the show this morning probably very familiar with Liberty, very large multinational insurance company operating in a lot of different capacities in a lot of different countries. Domestically here in the U.S., top 3 property and casualty carrier, top 5 when you look at individual personal lines coverage. Obviously there's a lot of carriers out there that write individual auto, homeowners, and other types of coverages. But Liberty takes a little bit of a different approach when it comes to that. Really, over the last 30 or 40 years, we've done a lot of our core business through affinity marketing and different partnership opportunities, whether it be alumni associations, banks, credit unions, car dealerships, and most importantly for the purpose of today's conversation, direct with employers. So we actually work with about 8,000 employers across the country, all different shapes, sizes, industries, who offer discounted access, group voluntary auto and home coverage to their employees as part of or one piece of their overall benefits program as another voluntary benefit offering. So traditionally that's something that we've marketed direct to employers or through our broker and consultant partners across the country with whom we work with. But obviously a new day in the delivery of healthcare and how that's ultimately getting into the hands of employers and employees with the emergence of private exchanges and different pieces of HRIS, benefits administration platforms. So we think it's a huge, huge opportunity to propel our business forward, do a lot of the same things that we've, historically done, but engage with, the end user employees in a very new and interesting way.
Yeah, if we're truly moving towards consumerism, which we are, and we look at exchanges, non-traditional benefit offerings such as auto and home are a very important part of that of building plans of choice. Correct?
Yeah, they are. I mean, I think if the thought process is for some, not all, to give employees a wide array of different types of benefits ranging from the core stuff, medical, dental, vision, life, disability, to other types of, whether they be lifestyle benefits or pet insurance or legal insurance. The fact of the matter is workforces are changing. There's multi-generational, in some instances 3 or 4 generations. It's very important, most would agree, obviously, to not just engage your workforce, but give them the types of coverages that they want access to. And all this stuff really at its core is all about preserving, people's, not just their health, but probably even more so their financial wealth. And so putting these types of programs all in the hands of employees, give them the opportunity to look at these things side by side, realizing that the decisions might be to some extent interdependent on other decisions. What type of medical plan I buy might be contingent upon the availability of an accident plan, for example, or picking up some supplemental life insurance. The ability to do that might be directly contingent upon being able to save some money on my auto and home coverage. So giving employees, the right types of education, engaging them in the right way, the right tools and resources obviously being very important to the process. I think it provides a unique opportunity not just for us to continue to grow, our business, but for our broker consultant partners, our technology providers that we work with, employers, to really engage and give power to employees in a way that, we all collectively haven't been able to come together and do historically.
So let's look specifically at your auto and home offerings. And if I'm an employer, I guess this is a two-pronged question. One, don't most of my employees already have auto and home? So why would I consider this? And then what are other considerations that I need to keep in mind as whether this is a good fit or not for my company?
Yeah, good question. It's one that we, get oftentimes as we sit down and talk to an employer about their benefits program and what they're looking to do. Obviously, they, just like all of us, have a certain amount of bandwidth to, implement and administer these types of programs. So it's a fair question. A couple of key things that I say are different about offering an auto and home program inside of the workplace versus, your employees going out and purchasing that coverage individually on their own, which in the absence of a workplace program is what they're doing today. The first piece, which is really, really key, in the group voluntary program, there's discounts that are available to employees that range from, let's say, 5% on the low end to 15% on the high end. And so if you were to go, just to give you an example, make it real, to libertymutual.com and go and pursue an individual auto quote, and after you got all of your other available discounts that you were eligible for, good credit, student of this particular university, whatever it might be, your rate is $1,000. Having access to that program through your employer, there's an additional discount of, let's just say, 10% or $100 in that particular example. So there's a financial incentive to employees, which when you think about other financial wellness programs or well-being initiatives that might be taking place in the workplace, ties in, quite nicely to that. It also gives employees access to a whole bunch of educational materials as well as Liberty Mutual's licensed sales professionals that are around the country. So even though the world's changing drastically, we're relying on technology in ways that we haven't historically done. All of our data supports the fact that when it comes down to actually purchasing these coverages, 6 or 7 out of 10 employees, so 60 or 70% of people, prefer to actually be sitting live or over the phone talking to a live person. So they get access to that. And then I kind of touched on it before, but the ability to put those benefits, auto and home, alongside other important purchases. So bring that purchasing experience inside of the workplace so that employees can evaluate all their needs kind of in one swoop, I think is incredibly valuable to employees. And
to employees, also very much the convenient factor too. This is payroll deduction. Is how it's all paid for, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It can be done on a payroll deduct basis, which is obviously, very, very convenient for the employee, eliminating that extra, payment or bill that they have to manage on a monthly basis.
Yeah. So what do you say? When you look at the private exchange markets specifically, where do you see the growth of the market going forward? I mean, we know all the predictions. We talk about all the predictions, but where do you see it? What do you see as a growth opportunity there at Liberty?
Yeah, I think so. The overall market, obviously, there's a lot written about that. Folks that are probably far more able to speak about that. Obviously, it's lagged a little bit from maybe some of the earlier predictions, but I think that it's still, we'll reach some of the numbers by whether it's 2017, 2018, whether it's 25, 30, 35 million. So it's a huge, huge component when you think about the fact that 3 or 4 years from now it'll represent maybe 20% of the employer-sponsored market. So it's a huge, huge channel for auto and home in particular, and other types of voluntary benefits. I think the real opportunity, and I think everybody's really aligned in this thinking, kind of up and down the distribution chain, is being able, typically when you're administering, whether it's your medical, your dental, your vision, your life disability, all these things individually and on a direct basis, there's a certain amount of effort and lift that has to go into that for the employer, for the broker consultant to actually execute on all of those things. And so a lot of times when it gets to voluntary benefits in general, the appetite isn't really there to take on those additional offerings, even if the employer sees value in those things, because they might just not have the bandwidth to actually do that. You got to worry about, marketing the products to employees, engaging with them, actually capturing enrollment, and then administering, the benefits on a regular, ongoing basis. And you think about exchanges, the vast majority of them, at a minimum, capture or solve for all of those different, components. So in my past life, actually, prior to Liberty, Liberty's a new world for me as of about seven months ago or so. But I worked for a pretty large exchange provider, worked on the front end with employers as they transitioned, from kind of their traditional direct sponsored programs into a private exchange. And in a lot of instances, they would go from offering 5 or 6 different benefit types to employees, always had a big desire to offer more programs and services, but never really had the capacity to administer it. And they'd go into an exchange that handled a lot of that administration, and they'd be able to expand, their offerings to employees from, 4 or 5 benefit types to as much as 12, 13, maybe 14, without it increasing their workload or their administration. So I think exchanges, above everything else, have the ability to really package a lot of those different components together, which, we're all in this together to mutually serve the employers and the employees, and I think that's a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah, I think it becomes on the front end, to your point, that you've got not just a purchasing portal to make your right choices, but you've got an education and communications portal to help educate that consumer on making those right choices to manage risk in their families, to manage to your point, the financial wellness, the financial well-being. But then incredibly important is the back end of these exchanges. And for an employer with that simplified, single billing system, et cetera, incredibly important if we're going to have more choice plans.
Yeah, absolutely, and just be simple things, streamlining communication. When you're administering the benefits, direct, a lot of times that happens in kind of individual silos. Whereas, you come onto some type of administration platform and the ability to, package, for example, the discounts that auto and home can provide with, as I was talking about before, financial wellness incentives, because those two things play together very nicely. So to message them together to help employees make the correlation between one and the other, oftentimes will, be the catalyst for, engaging people in ways, whereas, previously if those communications were coming separately or individually, one was coming by mail, one was coming by, via email, they might not necessarily, make that connection.
Yep. Can an employer offer more than one choice as it relates to, your offerings?
They can, yes. So there's a couple of, it'd probably be worth taking a step back. There's a couple of other carriers that also offer group voluntary auto and home coverages. There's really 3 that play particularly well in the space. Ourselves, MetLife, Travelers being the other 2. Common point of confusion with employers when we sit down with them, kind of tying to your first question, which is, why would I ask or offer a program like this? So there's 3 that offer the group voluntary, the discounted programs. A lot of the larger employers that we work with actually will offer multiple choices to employees, with the thought process being that the actual coverages themselves are individually underwritten. So as most people know, different carriers have different risk tolerances, things that they like, things that they don't like, et cetera. So, Liberty might be a good fit for an employee in one particular situation based on, their demographics, and another carrier might be a good fit for the employee, another employee in the workplace.
Right. Well, Ryan, really appreciate you being on with us today, and I want to allow you to kind of package this and leave our audience with some a few takeaways, if you would, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Number one, again, appreciate the opportunity to join you guys this morning. Very excited to be joining you guys down in Baltimore for the Private Exchange Forum in early September. Had the opportunity to join you guys in Dallas in late March. Phenomenal event. So if anybody's on this morning and not already planning on going, then absolutely, you should make it a part of your plans for this fall. But I think that the prevailing thought, that I have as I think about our conversation this morning and just the market as a whole is that, it's just a really, really awesome time to be in this space when you think about healthcare and some of the transformation that's going on, whether it be exchanges, whether it be ACOs, whether it be, the emergence of voluntary benefits and other types of programs and services that have never existed or are now kind of coming to the forefront of benefit offerings for employees and onto employees. And I think, it all really ties to one prevailing thought, which is collectively, we all have an opportunity to engage with employees, our end user consumers, and provide additional value to them that we just haven't been able to achieve previously for a number of reasons. And I think technology is really at the center of that. So if you're a broker consultant out there and you're not working with us today, we'd absolutely love the opportunity to sit down and talk to you a little bit about how the programs work and what's in it for you as a partner of ours, and further talk about some of the value that's available to employers and to employees. And likewise, for any employers that might be dialing in this morning and not familiar with these types of programs, haven't had the opportunity to consider one in the past, I'd say it's certainly timely, and it's a great time to sit down and have the conversation. We'd have absolutely love to do that with you. So thanks again for having me this morning, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Ryan, we appreciate it as well. To our audience, you can obviously come and talk to Ryan at Private Exchange Forum Baltimore, September 1st, 2nd. But Ryan, tell them how else they can reach out to you, if you would, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Website, simply put, is libertymutual.com. And actually within the employee benefits section of our website, in the voluntary programs and services, there's some additional kind of high-level details about our program, as well as a way to get in touch with myself and a couple of colleagues within our department. You mentioned it. We'll be out there at the Private Exchange Forum in September in Baltimore, and absolutely looking forward to it. And obviously work with you guys a ton at the IHC, so I know there's a lot of good information about what we do and how we do it on your website as well. So whatever's most convenient for folks out there, absolutely look us up and come talk to us.
Thanks, Ryan, so much. Enjoy your weekend up there, and we'll see you soon in Baltimore.
Pleasure. Likewise, guys. Thanks again.